Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Soul-u-tions podcast. I love spending this time with you, and I just want to take a moment to thank you for putting me on your podcast playlist and following along on the Soul-u-tions podcast. I know that you're very busy, that you have so many things pulling on you from here to there. And so the fact that you choose to spend this time for yourself with me is something that I truly appreciate. So I hope you're going to enjoy today's podcast. This topic is one that we really dug deep into in the Soul-shine Labs today. And I am enjoying bringing these nuggets from all of these women in the Soul-shine Labs so that you feel like you are a part of our community. And we do feel that way about you too. So today we started talking about this concept of self-appreciation and the invisible labor that women carry. So enjoy the fabulous introduction, and I'll see you on the other side.
Einstein said, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them." Most everyone in the world is solving their problems the wrong way. Our problems come from our thinking, and we can solve them with our thinking. So, whether you're at your lowest, just trying to grow, or whether you are trying to sustain growth over your lifetime, join us as we push the boundaries of our current thinking and redefine how we find Soul-u-tions.
The hope and the strength and the love and the smiles and the laughter of friends and family. Add it up, you'll find no limit to the possibilities.
Okay, so today's class, we actually went through some follow-up coaching based on an assignment that we had in Friday's class. So we have 2 classes a week in the Soul-shine Labs. One is a Tuesday class where we go deep, get like really soulful, understand the things that are getting in the way of us living our best lives. And in Friday's class, we do this fabulous exercise that I've talked to you before about on the podcast, and it's the 25-5-3 exercise. And we usually do it with listing 25 things that are working for you right now in your life. And then only after you've listed those 25 things that are working, do we ever move to considering the things that aren't working. And we limit those to 5 things that aren't working. And then we shift into 3 things that you're going to do differently moving forward to help build your list of things that are working in your life. So I did a fun twist on this exercise last Friday, given that we are studying self-appreciation for the month of August when I'm recording this podcast for you. And we did 25 things that you appreciate about yourself. 5 things that get in the way of you appreciating yourself, and 3 things you're going to do differently to appreciate yourself more. It was really interesting because these women are such pros at listing things that are working for them in their life. But when I asked them to list 25 things that they appreciate about themselves, it threw them for a loop. And I was so interested to hear the things that got in the way of them really appreciating themselves with a sense of ease. So I asked everybody to take a picture of their classwork and to send it to me so that I could, get a little insight and see how I could help them move past their hurdles to feeling good about themselves and appreciating themselves more. Well, as soon as I started looking at it, I began to see the patterns. Many things that they had a hard time with were repeated across the board for all the women. And so I wanted to share some of those things with you today because I bet that these same things may be getting in your way of appreciating yourself. And if we can remove these obstacles for you in this podcast episode, I want you to imagine how different your life will be from this day forward. Truly, I want you to think about it. Let's just say that your self-appreciation skills are currently set at 25% out of 100%, meaning, you could increase your sense of self-appreciation by 75%. Oh my goodness. Imagine how your life would be different if you were walking through it on a daily basis and a moment-to-moment basis, able to access that type of feeling about yourself in any moment, and how your ability to access that sense of appreciation for yourself, how that would help you in conversations that you're having, whether they be at the checkout counter at Publix or the grocery store, or whether they be with a child who is going through a frustrating day, they've come back from school, or they're just broken up with a girlfriend. I mean, just imagine your ability to handle what has happened to you in your day and replenish yourself like that quickly. As soon as your phone rings and you see your child's name on it and they're like, oh, it's just been the worst day ever. You're thinking to yourself, I know what you mean. It's been the worst day ever. I don't know if I can handle this phone call right now. But in that moment, you're able to put your hand over your heart, take a deep breath, and recall for yourself all the things that you truly appreciate about yourself as a person, a woman, a wife, a mother, a daughter, a friend, and fill your heart with just this inner glow and sense of knowing that in the time it takes to take a deep breath, you can access that sense of appreciation, fill your cup, and now be available for that conversation where someone needs you. Okay, so here are the 5 things that were getting in the way for most everyone in the Soul-u-tions Labs. They're going through their list. They get from 1, 2, 3, they get down to about 11. The first thing that they said was, this exercise is hard because I'm used to being self-critical rather than self-appreciative. Is that you? Are you more familiar with being self-critical than you are with being self-appreciative? That's some good information to have. All right, number 2. This one really surprised me, but it was consistent across the board. Most everyone, as they were making their list, began to wonder if other people saw them in this way. Truly, it became an obstacle where they would hesitate in writing something that they appreciated about themselves because they were wondering, do other people see this in me? Is this something really real? Is this something I've made up about myself? And that one just absolutely floored me because I'm looking from the perspective of the guide, the coach, the outside observer. And I'm envisioning you listening to this podcast, or I'm envisioning you through the screen of Zoom and we're in a Soul-u-tions Labs class, I am holding you all in the highest and best light. I was sharing with everybody today that some of my friends and I had met up for some drinks on Friday night, and there was an older woman who was there who'd recently lost her husband. And each one of us knew her in our own way, not knowing that we each knew her. But she came up to each one of us, and she just grabbed our face in her hands. I mean, just grabbed them, and she looked deeply into our eyes, and she just said, "I love you so much. Do you know how much I love you? I love you so much. Do you know how much I love you?" And then she went to each one of us, even with tears of, you could see her grief in her eyes, but also her capacity to love us. And so when I'm thinking about you and I'm looking through the lens of just the screen in front of me and seeing these women in the Soul-u-tions labs, and they tell me that they are writing these things that they appreciate about themselves down on this list and wondering if other people see them this way. I just want to take your little face and just put it in my hands and say, "Do you know how much I love you and how wonderful you are?" It just really hurt my heart to think that that would be an obstacle. So I definitely want us to erase that from our list of things that gets in the way of you appreciating yourself in the future. If you feel that feeling come up, I want you to just go hand over heart. Tara's putting her hands on my cheeks and saying, "Do you know how much I love you?" All right, we can all agree we're done with that one now. You're never going to wonder if anybody else sees this quality in you again, because you have got to know deep in your heart that at least one person does, and that's me. Okay. The other one, number 3, they felt indulgent or unnatural. Another pause here. They feel like it is unnatural to appreciate themselves, not, like, okay, I can appreciate I do this, I can appreciate I do that, but to appreciate themselves at the level I was asking them to in this exercise, that they would have to come up with 25 things to appreciate about themselves. They felt that was unnatural or indulgent. And to this one, I want to say, oh my gosh, again, my heart hurts for you. I want you to know that it is so important for you to appreciate yourself. First of all, we wouldn't have this feeling of appreciation, would not be given to us in the rainbow of feelings that, the good Lord has given us to feel as humans, as His creation, if it was unnatural. I mean, really, really think about it. It's like saying it's unnatural to love myself. No, it is not unnatural to love yourself. It's not unnatural to appreciate yourself either, nor is it indulgent. I think that we are missing an important component of the pleasure of being alive and the miracle of being human when we think that to appreciate ourselves is somehow something we shouldn't be doing, or is not something that we should tap into from time to time. I think we're just missing a major resource that was given to us. And this joke, you've all heard this joke before, but I now want you to associate it with this particular teaching on appreciation. And that is, you've all heard the joke or the story, the parable about, the person who was in a natural disaster, and the waters have risen and they have had to climb out of their house onto the top of their roof. And a rescue unit comes by in the boat and they said, "Hello up there, hello up there. We're here to rescue you." And the person on the roof says, "No, the good Lord's going to rescue me. I'm not going to get in your boat. He's going to save me. He's going to recede the waters." And then someone in a helicopter comes and drops the line. It says, grab on. We're here to take you to safety." And he says, no, God is going to recede the waters and I'm going to be safe and fine. And eventually, this poor person passes away of starvation on the roof of their home, thinking, God didn't come to save me. And he gets to heaven and he says, God, why didn't you save me? And God said, well, I sent you a boat rescue unit and a helicopter rescue unit. Why didn't you use the help that I sent you? I want you to think of self-appreciation as a guideline of help that has been given to you. It is so natural to use it and to feel it. And the more you do, then the more it's going to grow and the more you're going to have to offer others. Okay, fourth reason. Most people are only focusing on their external accomplishments, which again is kind of tied to that other one where they need other people to see them. And this ties into the fifth one, which is they are waiting on other people to validate them. I get it. But if you are a child waiting on people to validate you, that's appropriate behavior. But as you become an adult, you have to begin to take the lead in appreciating yourself enough that you can relieve the other people in your life from the need to validate you. This can become kind of tricky, I find, in a lot of people because it turns us into people who give in order to get, which is like, you do nice things for other people because you need the validation for them. So there's this extrinsic motivator of doing things for others because you need to be seen by them in a certain light. And that is just emotional immaturity. And it's an area that we all are called to grow up in and to become the people that can truly see ourselves in the best light that there is to see. I share this often on this podcast, but this idea that I am always doing the best I can in each and every moment with the resources I have available to me. And if I truly believe that, I am able to relieve other people from the burden of validating me, and I am able to see them in their best light as their best version of themselves, given the resources that they have in so many moments that I'm not able to see them as if I am needing to be validated first. So be the person who is the emotional leader in all your relationships and give to yourself appreciation and then find the deeper well of appreciation that you have for others. Now, I want to move into another part of our discussion that we had today because I think this is really an important reason to appreciate yourself moving forward. It's not one of the hurdles necessarily that gets in our way, but it's something that I want you to just use as a validating reason to do this exercise, to spend the 5 minutes it takes to write down 25 things that you appreciate about yourself. And hey, listen, I would love it if you did do this exercise and you snapped a picture of it and you emailed it to me at Tara at tarasimkins.com. I would love to see your work and see if there's some objections, the things that made it hard for you to do the exercise that I didn't address today, and I could address that on another episode. Okay, so let's move up to this next thing of why I think it's so important to appreciate ourselves. And this comes into making the invisible visible in our lives. Oh, there is a lot of talk today about the inequality of invisible emotional labor in relationships. And there was even a New York Times article that came out this past weekend, and it was all about this phrase called man-keeping. Now, what is man-keeping? Man-keeping is a phrase that was coined by Angelica Ferrara, who is a postdoctoral fellow at Stanford, or at least she was at the time that she coined this phrase. And it has taken off, apparently, in the TikTok world and the Instagram world and all the other online worlds. But it was coined to describe the work women do to meet the social and emotional needs of the men in their lives, from supporting their partners through the daily challenges and inner turmoil that comes with working and living today, to encouraging them to meet up with their friends. And one of the things it was really interesting about this article were two kind of tangential pieces of data from it. One was that it used to be that young men would turn to their friends, had friends to talk to about like whatever was going on in their lives. And it used to be like if you asked a group of young men, half of the group would say, "Oh yeah, I have a group of friends to talk about that with." Now that statistic has reduced to only 20% of young men. And this is something that I think we all need to be concerned about, especially I'm a mother of 3 young men. And in our country and in our society is what's being talked about as the male loneliness epidemic. So you have this happening on one side of the equation. And on the other side of the equation, you have young women who are more economically independent than they have been before in their lives. And they are seeing like, in addition to doing this work, I'm needed more by the guys because they have not been taught to handle their emotional needs or share their emotional needs as much as women have been socialized to do that. And now they don't have these friend groups. Not as many of them have friend groups to do. So women are seeing this as an extra burden to take on. Why did we talk about this? Why did this come up in our discussion today? Well, it came up in our discussion, for one thing, to know that, hey, this is another reason why we really need to appreciate ourselves, and you need to appreciate yourself if you are doing this work for your family as a mother, or if you are doing this work in your family as a wife, to make this invisible work that we haven't spoken about before, that we kind of kept in the shadows behind the closed doors, but to say that actually this does take energy and time and love and attention to be the go-to person for so many people in your family. And when you can appreciate that you're playing this role, right, then you can tap into that sense of appreciation. And in turn, you can help your partner, your kids, your sons, your daughters begin to tap into their own sense of appreciation for themselves and the roles that they are playing. So I just think it's a really important thing that we should all be talking about a little bit more, because some of the women were getting a little hopeless. They're like, my daughters aren't dating. They don't. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm the mother of 3 sons. I think this is so important. And we all concluded that, wow, don't we live in an amazing time where this research is becoming available? And we have, each woman in the Soul-u-tions Labs was so appreciative of herself and doing this work that we do in the Soul-u-tions Labs to realize that this is not indulgent work. This is actual critical frontline work that we can be doing in our families to help each other and to help the next generation really thrive in their relationships at a higher level than we have. So, I want y'all to be aware that even when I'm talking about doing something like self-appreciation, it may sound like a fluff exercise. And then you may start it and you may have these objections to doing it. And I want you to remember this is so important work. It's really at the heart of being human. Okay, what are your next steps from here? I saw something on the way, and we're going to wrap it up here, but I don't know if Instagram, I had my phone out while I was teaching class. And so I'm sure all the algorithms were listening to our discussion and what the class was. And lo and behold, this reel just showed up on my feed. And it was a reel of an interview between Adam Grant, who is a professor and organizational psychologist at the University of Pennsylvania, who teaches at the Wharton School of Leadership. And he was interviewing Ed Helms. Now, I don't know if you know who Ed Helms is, but my middle son, Brennan, is a huge fan of The Office, and Ed is one of the actors in that sitcom. I don't know if you call them sitcoms anymore, but anyway, in that television show. And Ed said that he shared something that he never shared with anybody in public before, but Adam asked him, he goes, "What do you do when you get down?" Okay. You can see that I'm using this self-appreciation tool as something to do when you get down, right? All right. Well, Ed takes it to a next level. He said that he made a video of himself giving himself several pep talks for different scenarios of moments of difficulty in his life. And this is what the quote was. He goes, "I'm there for me in my phone. I'm right there in my phone." And Adam Grant said, that's what psychologists call self-distancing. It's seeing yourself from a bigger point than a point of failure. And then Ed responded with this quote, "Seeing myself like myself feels pretty damn good." And I'm like, it does feel so good to like yourself, to appreciate yourself. So I want you to do the exercise of 25 things that you appreciate about yourself. And truly, if you really want to go the extra mile, I think Ed has a great idea here to video yourself, like reading your list of 25 things that you truly appreciate about yourself. And when you're feeling down, hit the play button and see yourself liking yourself and feel really darn good about yourself. Thank you so much for joining me again today. And I'm serious. Take me up on my offer. Snap a photo of your list, email it to me at tara@tarasimkins.com. I'd love to take a look at it. Or send me that video of you appreciating you and reading your own list. I'd love to see it. And if you are ready to take this work that we do here on the podcast deeper and do it in a real felt sense of community with other women, I really hope that you will join us in the Soul-u-tions Labs. The next enrollment is September 4th through the 11th. And so it should be pretty soon around the time that this podcast drops. So we'd love for you to join us. Until next time, my friends, be well.
I ain't done living the life I'm meant to lead. And I ain't done loving the ones who cared for me. hope and the strength and the love and the smiles and the laughter of friends and family. Add it up, you'll find no limit to the possibilities. The left and the right and some faith in the fight.